Hey, check it out. Let's switch gears right quick. We got Phil Steele on the line. Mr. Steele, how you doing?
I am doing great. How about yourself today?
I'm getting there, sir. Appreciate the college football preview. I had a couple questions for you. I hope that's okay.
Sure.
Should we be buying Notre Dame in particular? Because I took a look at your college football playoff, and I saw that you had two squads playing in there that got Notre Dame on the schedule, which leads me to believe that you think highly of Notre Dame.
You know, I do think highly of Notre Dame this year. Now, to give you a little preface, last year I had Notre Dame as my number one surprise team in the country, which was a team that wasn't ranked in the top 10 that I thought could make the playoff. And Notre Dame did indeed go from being number 12 in the preseason all the way up to making the playoff last year. When I look at Notre Dame this year, I have a team that's probably equal to that talent-wise. I mean, they've got Ian Book back at QB. Like the defense overall, as well as, the offensive line looks solid. I think this team's just as good. But what I don't like about the Irish is their schedule this year. They have to play two of the teams that, as you mentioned, I think can make the playoffs, Georgia and Michigan, and play them both on the road. And they also play Stanford on the road, and that's a game where the home team is dominated. So they've got three real tough road games, something they lacked last year and was part of the reason I picked Notre Dame to potentially make a playoff spot. This year with the schedule, I think that they're just as good as last year, but I think they miss out in the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I get your argument, and it's a good one. I just look at Jafar Armstrong at running back is basically an unknown commodity to the rest of us. You got wide receiver Chase Claypool coming back, and that's cool. And that 4.25 is going to lack Jerry Tillery. But I want to believe that Notre Dame is going to do something other than, again, as you pointed out, lose in January. So I am uncomfortable with seeing them as the pendulum that the college football playoff is going to swing through. I mean, that's the prism we're all going to look through it at. And I wonder, outside of them, do you think that Texas is as good as people claim? I feel like we do this every year, though.
Yeah, well, you look at Texas this year. They only have 8 returning starters. They're less experienced than they were last year, but they got a pretty good quarterback in Sam Ehlinger. And I really like the way that Tom Herman is recruiting as the head man there. I think the overall talent that Texas has and is putting on the field this year is superior to what it was when Tom Herman took over. Now, last year they knocked off Oklahoma in the regular season, gave Oklahoma quite a game in the Big 12 title game, and I think they're capable of contending in the Big 12 once again. For the record, I went with Oklahoma. I think when you look at Oklahoma's talent schedule, they're probably going to be favored in every single game. But I do think Texas is up there. And the one thing about Tom Herman, put this guy as an underdog against a top 25 opponent, and he generally wins. So that's going to give him a shot at it there. I didn't call for Texas to make the playoff, and I didn't even call for Oklahoma to make the playoff this year, nor Notre Dame.
Phil Steele, Phil Steele's college football preview, on us with the animal. Look, I had that question, right? You didn't have Texas or Oklahoma in the college football playoff, and that is what it is, right? I understand that. I also wondered, do you think that they are each other's, Texas and Oklahoma's, toughest opponent, or do you put LSU as Texas's toughest opponent, and then, I don't know, Iowa State as Oklahoma's toughest?
I would say Oklahoma's Texas's toughest opponent may just be LSU, although Oklahoma's right up there as well. I've got Oklahoma number 4 in the country, and I've got Oklahoma number 5 in the country in the power poll, and LSU number 4 in the country in the power poll. So those teams are very close. The advantage for Texas is they get the LSU game at home, whereas they have to play Oklahoma at a neutral site. So that's tough to pick Texas's toughest opponent. I think in Oklahoma's case, it probably is Texas. I do think Iowa State's a very good team. Matt Campbell's got 16 returning starters. Heck, this guy rarely has an experienced squad. Very experienced this year, quarterback in Brock Purdy, and we've seen Iowa State surpass expectations in recent years. But I think Oklahoma's toughest opponent is Texas.
How do you couch Oklahoma State's season this year with an unproven commodity at quarterback?
How do you approach their season last year? It was just a wacky season. I mean, Oklahoma State lost to teams on the schedule last year: Texas Tech, Iowa State, Kansas State, Baylor, all as favorites. Yet they upset Boise, Texas, West Virginia, and Missouri. It's almost like whoever was the favorite in the game was going to lose in an Oklahoma State game last year. So I think they're a tough team to grasp. Now, the new quarterback is going to be a big difference. I'm projecting Spencer Sanders, the redshirt freshman, to beat out Drew Brown for the job. He's got good talent around him. You look at Chuba Hubbard, one of the more underrated running backs in the country. Tylan Wallace is one of the best wide receivers in the entire country. He's got some talent around him with C.J. Moore and Stoner. My biggest question mark with Oklahoma State is going to be that defense. They lose all 4 starting defensive linemen from last year, and they were not an overwhelming defense to begin with. Last year they gave up 452 yards per game. How quickly that defense comes around will be the key. But this was a tough team for me to gauge last year, and they're a tough team once again this year.
Phil, my last question for you. We are in Tulsa. University of Tulsa is here. With Zach Smith at quarterback, do you think that Tulsa can contend for the American Conference title?
Yeah, the possibility clearly exists. So you go back to Philip Montgomery's first 2 offenses that he had when he got good quarterback play. They averaged 37 and 42 points per game and had a combined 57-20 ratio his first 2 years. The last 2 years, he has not got good quarterback play. Talking about 53% completions each year and just a 6-8 ratio, and a 13-10 ratio the last 2 seasons. But I think with the addition of Zach Smith at QB, that upgrades the offense. And, when I went over the defense with Coach Montgomery this year, this is a good-sized, physically solid defense. I think this defense is going to surprise a lot of folks this year. So I was pretty bullish on the Tulsa team coming off the conversation with Coach Montgomery. The thing I don't like this year is the schedule. They actually play one of the tougher schedules. The home games are against Houston, UCF, Oklahoma State. They've got some pretty tough Memphis as well. And then the road games are where most of the winnable games are. So if they can take care of business in those tough home games and win some on the road, then they'd have a shot. But it's one of the tougher schedules, I think, in the American West.
That is Phil Steele of Phil Steele's College Football Preview. Mr. Steele, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, a lot of fun talking football with you today.